Hey, what's up everyone? It's Frank with SCM Globe, and in this video I wanted to go over the top 3 things that you should keep in mind when running your simulation. And at this point you should already be familiar with the 4 supply chain entities, including products, facilities, vehicles, and routes. So that should give you a very good understanding of the simulation screen. So the first thing I wanted to highlight is the expectation of the simulation data when you're creating your supply chain and the actual data that's output. As you're running your simulations and adjusting different variables to the different entities, you naturally expect certain outcomes based on those inputs. So you expect for the distribution center to look a certain way, or the routes to look a certain way when you're creating your supply chain. But sometimes the numbers don't match. And this can be caused by a variety of different things that deal with the inputs that you add to the different variables in the supply chain entities. And one of the things I wanted to highlight are things like missed deliveries. And this is indirectly controlled by the delay between departures and the time it takes for the vehicle to travel its route, or the distance in between that. And this is important because this actually happens in real life. So it's important to keep account for the missed deliveries. And just like in real life, more frequent deliveries made by vehicles traveling on longer routes result obviously in higher rates of missed deliveries. And because of this, it's especially important to have a safety stock inventory at facilities, at any of your facilities that hold any product, so that you can keep them going when stuff like this happen. And on some occasions, there will even be 2 deliveries made when only 1 was expected. So using or having some extra storage space is pretty important. And this obviously occurs in the real world as well. And you can adjust the frequency in which deliveries are made with this setting under the vehicles. So if you head to any facility that houses vehicles, or where the vehicles are starting their routes from, you can change different things. And now obviously you can change other variables, including the carry volume, the size and type of the truck, the speed at which they travel. But if you really want to kind of just change the basic stuff, delay between departures is one to keep in mind. And obviously the numbers differ because of small changes in different data, like the speed and the max weight and the max carry volume. And you notice that inventory fluctuates based on all this data. So be wary of the changes that you make. Now, the second thing is in relation to case studies and how they differ, and how the simulation data differs from others who are completing the same case study or running simulations based off of that case study. And this occurs because there are many changes that are made. So you can make changes to the facilities in their max storage capacity, in their daily rent costs, in their operating cost. And the more changes that you make and the more simulations that you run, the more they will differ from others working on the same case study. And this is known as the butterfly effect. And SCM Globe has an entire page dedicated to that. So I invite you to check that out. The last thing I wanted to highlight is the speed at which the simulations run. So after all the changes have been made, and after you expect a simulation to look a certain way, you can now run your supply chain simulation. So I'm going to click on this, and you'll notice that once it loads, there's a speed setting that you can choose to see how your simulation is run. Now, these numbers this setting does not affect the numbers at the end of the day, but it's important to get an intuitive sense of how your supply chain is running and where the problem areas can occur. So if you set the speed to the slowest, you'll see how the simulation is actually running in the simulation that you've run, but it does so at a slow process, right? So you can actually see what happens on day 1, day 2, and get a nice visual sense of how it works. You can play with different data as it relates to the facilities, vehicles, or products, and you can check different data points and the different days in which these data points change. Now I'm going to pause this for now, and then I'm going to stop the simulation, because I want to show you the difference in between the slow and the fastest setting. So I'm going to reload the supply chain, and now I'm going to select the fastest speed setting. If I click on play, you notice that this is going extremely fast, and you can see all the days that are populating. So I'm going to pause this, and this is done because, and this works because the SCM Globe, it runs partly on the servers in the cloud and partly on the browser on your PC. So make sure that if you select any of these options, make sure that as you're running your simulation that you don't have so many screens and so many things open on your computer, because it does require memory and some sort of computer power to power these simulations. And so make sure that you know what speed you're running it at, so that way you can analyze the data correctly, and so that you can get an intuitive sense of how your simulation runs. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.